Co-main event. We saw the trilogy bout between Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway, and it goes to full 25 minutes again. These
Mm,
guys have spent
crazy.
75 minutes in an octagon together, and Max, unfortunately, is on the wrong side of the decision again. But this time there's no controversy, Dom.
Nope.
Alexander Volkanovski sweeps the cards. He puts on a masterclass on his way to proving he is the best featherweight in the world. I almost put best featherweight of all time, but Dominic, the majority of people online still think it's Jose Aldo, so I couldn't use your soundbite from Friday. I hope you understand.
You're
But
fine.
because I don't want people getting mad at us when really what we're here to do is to just shower
Yeah.
Volkanovski with a lot of love here.
Yeah.
Because Alexander Volkanovski is clearly on his way to being the fighter of the year.
Yep.
He is potentially going to be on our nominees for performance of the year twice.
Yeah. That
His
would be a
first two
first.
performances, that would be a first, and hopefully, I mean, not hopefully, I should say, but probably not many times after that are we going to see something like that. So he is literally, if you went off the performances of this year, he's the best fighter in the world right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I know Kamaru Usman's still deservedly number one, but he is carrying 2022 on his shoulders when it comes to the highest level of MMA. You know, is he disappointing in the main event? You know,
Hmm.
him and Whitaker kind of having a meh fight. Like right now, when it comes to high level MMA, this is the guy you point to.
Yep.
Alexander Volkanovski. You were telling your friends, tune in to this guy. He made the Korean Zombie look his age and then some.
Hmm.
And in here, he made Max Holloway look perhaps the oldest he's ever looked, even though he's only 30 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I, I am stunned at just how I knew it was a possibility. Just because of how much these two guys have improved since their last fight,
Yeah.
I knew there was a Volkanovski could do something like this, but I'm just so shocked that really Max had nothing for him. Nothing. Nothing. Literally for 5 rounds got out, pointed out, beat. I mean, he beat him anywhere and everywhere. He was always covered. Offensively, he was faster strikes. He was hitting his spots quicker. I mean, it was one of the best performances I've ever seen in a title fight. There you go. There's the bomb. There's the mic drop. Dominic, your takeaways. Friday, you were wearing a lot of Max Holloway garb.
Hmm.
So being that you had kind of a dog in this fight, even though you are big, you, total respect to
Yes.
Volkanovski. I know you feel that way, but as being a big Max Holloway fan, how did this one stomach for you, and kind of what were your takeaways while watching?
It was tough. It was definitely sad. Kind of just a somber moment. You sit there, you're like, huh. He, Max is great, but Alex is just that much greater. That was what this was. Volkanovski is the hardest puzzle to piece together to solve in the UFC right now. He's 12-0 in the UFC. He's won 22 straight fights in a row if you go outside of the UFC coming all the way in. It's unbelievable how good he is, and it continues to get better and better and better and better. It's unbelievable. The title reign that he's putting together, the performances that he's starting to put together, the respect that he is finally earning. It's just great. It's great to be able to witness something like this. It's truly greatness in front of our eyes here. He's becoming one of the all-time best featherweights. Obviously, he's top three. He's going to be becoming one of the all-time greats in the sport if he keeps going on a pace like this. So, as a Max fan, it was a hard pill to swallow. But again, like Noah said, you kind of knew this was a possibility because of just all the time that they've had spent together. And while both have gotten better since the rematch in July of 2020, Alexander has just gotten even more so. So yeah, it was just quite the performance. Again, like 2 performance of the year contenders back to back by the same guy in title defenses. It's just he's in a level of his own right now. He really is.
Yeah.
And he's shutting down this 145-pound division. It's crazy.
I mean, he completely has it by the balls right now. Like there's just no other way to put it. I mean, you beat Max Holloway 3 times, and nobody can beat Max Holloway besides you.
Exactly.
Not to mention when you fight Brian Ortega or Korean Zombie, you are outclassing them for the majority of the fight. This guy is, like you said, in a league of his own, and each time out, it's like there's something new. There's a new wrinkle.
Yes.
Or there's just a new, like, there's something just added to the table.
And this one had to be the speed, right? Had to be.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, like it felt like against the Zombie, it was the power, the precision, and here it was more of the speed, the ability to get into the pocket and get out without taking really any shots from Max Holloway. In a lot of ways, Dom, like I know it hurts as a Max fan, but I almost feel like it was an easier pill to swallow, that it was truly just the best Volkanovski you'll probably ever see, and he got swept, than it being like a super razor thin close fight that you could maybe argue for Max, and then he doesn't get the nod again. Like I feel like that's a harder pill to swallow. So this was the kind of fight, if we weren't going to see a finish, and if Max wasn't going to win, this is the way this fight could go, at least the MMA gods, to finally set these two apart for a while. Because we could not afford another razor-thin close decision that could have went either way, where there's controversy. Because, don't get me wrong, like I'm not against seeing a 4th fight if it's deserving. Moreno-Figgy,
right.
Hopefully still going to see that. But when you got a guy up 2-0, if he would have went up 3-0, it's like eventually you just kind of want to see these two go their separate ways. Like how many times does Volkanovski have to pass the same test according to the judges who scored the fight? Here I think he slaughtered the beast. I think he slayed the dragon. He is now in a league of his own. He is firmly the number 2 featherweight of all time. Maybe, just maybe, there's a conversation to be had for him to be number 1. But let's talk about what's next for these two, Dominic. Volkanovski said afterwards he's looking to move up for that vacant, I hate to say the vacant lightweight title of the world.
Yeah.
He is looking to become a 2-division champion, and even said, Dominic, that he would keep both divisions active if he were to win that title. So I'm curious, do you really buy in that he could do that? And if so, then what's the timetable you think for us seeing that fight?
Yeah, so when people go for double champ status, if they say that they're willing to go back and forth and do both, I say go out and prove it if I'm the UFC. Give them the opportunity to do so. And if they live up, they live up. And I think Alexander would absolutely do that. And Alexander Volkanovski's next fight, which seemingly should be the end of the year, he should get a 3rd one in, I would imagine. Guy's barely been touched in 50 minutes of fighting this year, which is crazy. He needs to fight for the 155-pound title in his next fight. So, what does that mean? Well, it could mean he goes and fights for the vacant belt. Again, terrible wording. Hate that it's vacant because it technically is, but it's awful. Champion has a name, right? Charles Oliveira. But if he gets that over Islam, like if they do Charles versus Volkanovski, or I even saw, I think it was, who's the guy? Aaron Bronstetter. I think he tweeted, what's everybody's thoughts on if they do Volkanovski Makhachev if the UFC can't come to terms with Oliveira? I don't really know how all that is. I know Charles is expressing interest in fighting Conor, but I feel like he wants the belt. So I don't know if there's actually like problems getting him back in the cage this year. But regardless, I would see Volk versus Oliveira before I see Volk versus Islam, just like what the UFC would do. But maybe I'm off. But regardless, and if they do choose to do Oliveira, Makhachev next, that's fine. That those are the two guys that should be fighting, at least in the lightweight weight class for the belt. But if Volk gets in over either one of them, you're not going to hear any complaints from me. Because, again, regardless if it's for the vacant title or he's going up against one of them and their title defense, that's what happens next for Alexander Volkanovski. 155-pound title shot. 55 pounds, sorry. Forgot the second 5.
Well, I'm going to tell you that I don't think it's possible for him to defend both titles like simultaneously. These are two of the most stacked divisions in the entire company. Mm-hmm. There's no way that he'll be able to sustain going back and forth. And honestly, I don't want that. If he goes up to lightweight, then I hope he's making a commitment to the lightweight division and gives up the featherweight title. I'm just being honest.
Really?
Because, Dominic, you are talking about two of the most stacked divisions in the company. Do you really want to, have a... don't get me wrong, I'm fine with him going for it. But just be about it. Go up to lightweight if you're really going to stick at lightweight. If you're only going up there to prove you can win a second belt, then I have no interest.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say I have no interest. But I would be, in hindsight, looking back, I'd feel like it's a waste of time. Because it's just okay, you went up there and kind of fucked up another division, and now you're back to your old stomping grounds. Because, what are we really going to see here, Dom? If he goes in there and let's say he fights Charles in November, December, for the lightweight title, and let's say he wins, the UFC's going to, the featherweight title is going to need to be defended in 2-3 months? You got to keep the divisions moving. I don't want to get to a point where we're seeing... I understand it's possible either way, but even if you have a guy that's only the winner or only the champion of one division, you still might see 6 months in between title defenses or more if they get injured or whatever. But ideally... if they want a featherweight title fight in February, I want a guy who's a champion that's going to be able to fulfill that. I don't want Volkanovski to potentially be injured from his lightweight title fight and unable to compete, and then we're going to have to get, what this is going to lead to, Dom? A lot of interim titles. Mm-hmm. So I think it's great on paper. I love that Volkanovski wants to do it, but I hate what it could potentially mean if they really let him just go back and forth. I think it's a terrible choice. I think it's a terrible idea to let him go back and forth. If he goes up there, you strip him of the featherweight title.
Oh man, I don't.
I'm curious. I want to hear I want to hear your rebuttal. I want to hear it.
I would hate to see a guy that has wiped a division clean be stripped for chasing a second.
Or I hope he would relinquish it. I don't know.
Even then, I don't want him to give it up. If there's gonna be a new champion at 145, someone's got to beat Alexander Volkanovski.
Okay.
And I get it.
I agree with you. That's what I want to see. That's the preferable thing here. I just don't think. Maybe if he goes up and fights Charles. I'm not saying it has to be right away. Maybe he goes and fights one more time at featherweight. Or fights at featherweight, then he has one more fight at lightweight. He is going to need to commit to a division, to be a champion of a division. If you want to go back and forth, Anderson Silva kind of mixed it up and waited a couple times, but that's just because he had done such a good job of cleaning out house. I think that Volkanovski still has some matchups at featherweight. Yes, he is on his way to clearing house for sure. And you're going to have a hard time believing, I'm going to have a hard time believing that any of these guys are going to have a chance against him, really. But I just don't like the idea of, sure, he's probably earned a chance to go for the champ status. But what do we always see with these guys when they usually relinquish or get stripped of the other belt? Because it's not sustainable. These are two of the most active, action-packed, talented rosters. There needs to be two different champions. It's not sustainable.
Yeah, I understand. And that's the last thing you do want in two great divisions is for any sort of holdup. In the ideal world, there is enough time to where
Yeah.
one defense per year is good enough. One defense per weight class per year as a
Oh,
double champion.
no, I disagree completely.
No, I'm saying
I
that's the
disagree
type of
completely.
state you need the divisions to be in for it to be sustainable as a double champion.
I don't agree with that either. I don't agree. Like, I think you have to have multiple title defenses in a division each year to be like in a good place.
No, I know that. I'm saying if he's going to do it, the division has to be in such a state where there's only one new guy that emerges.
Oh,
So if
okay.
he's wanting to go back and
see.
forth, because when
Okay, sorry.
Amanda's been the most successful at this, we realize that.
Right.
But featherweight, one a year was fine, if that, because there was just
Yeah.
wasn't competition in bantamweight. She
And what's
could get
funny
one
is
or
what's
two a
funny
year.
is it felt like she was getting more featherweight challengers than bantamweight for a while because bantamweight
Yeah.
just wasn't. Nobody was standing out.
Exactly. So
Yeah, I just think. I think that's why I think it's just going to be hard for someone to replicate that in those
in
two
these weight
classes.
classes, exactly.
If someone like if Davison decided to go up to bantamweight, like I could see him being able because flyweight, even though it's very talented, not the most deep of rosters.
Yeah.
So there's just less guys. So I could see someone at flyweight moving up to bantamweight. You saw Henry do that. He defended both. Like it's possible to maybe for one title defense in each division, but
Then it gets
eventually he's going to
hard.
have to commit. He's just
Yes.
and he's probably more of a featherweight than a lightweight. So lightweight probably wouldn't be a long term. I mean, I think he's serious about what he's saying. I just don't think in practice that's really how it ends up happening.
Yeah. Yes.
But let me put my conspiracy theory out there.
Please tell everyone because you told us last night.
I've been on this one for a while. I might have even said it on the podcast before, but I can't remember. I feel like I've told you it before last night, but I could be wrong. Even stronger about it today.
Yeah.
So my conspiracy theory, I had been wondering why we had not gotten a Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev lightweight title fight announcement. Now, Dana White keeps saying that he likes the Benito Dariush fight, which is great. It is a great fight. But then you look around at the other top contenders, you go, but who's going to be in the title fight if it's not Islam or Benito?
Yeah.
Because the rest of the top, you have Dustin Poirier, who we had already seen him lose to Charles back in December, hasn't fought since. He just beat Justin Gaethje. Michael Chandler did have that amazing knockout over Tony Ferguson, but we just saw that fight with him and Charles a year ago.
Yep.
I don't think we need to see that again. Who am I missing there, Dom? I mean, that's
everybody.
that's your top of the division right now, and then you have Islam and Benil, who are the two new kind of guys to put into a title fight. But Dana seems interested in putting them together. And if they're serious about wanting Charles to fight, Charles is wanting to fight before the end of the year. So this whole Conor McGregor going to get a title fight thing, Conor's not fighting this year. I'm just saying, it's not going to happen. He may fight early next year, but I have no doubt in my mind we will not see him in 2022. So if Charles is serious about wanting to fight in October in Abu Dhabi or November or December, because I heard they might be trying to do a Brazil card in December or something, then it's either you do the Islam fight or probably Islam at this point, or you wait to see what happens at International Fight Week, because there is a guy who has been talking about wanting to move up in Alexander Volkanovski, who is a dominant featherweight champion. See how that fight goes, and then make your choice.
Yep.
So I think the UFC watched that fight very closely, and I think after what we saw Saturday, UFC is going to be committed to getting Charles versus Alex for the vacant lightweight title, and we're going to see Islam versus Benil probably in October, in Abu Dhabi, I would say. Some people might not be happy about that, but I think that is why the UFC had held off on making any sort of decision. And I think that's why Dana, when he has talked about it, has been so keen on this matchup between two guys who would be the two guys to put in a title fight right now, because I think they've had their eye on Volkanovski in that lightweight title fight. I think that's the fight you get. Those are the two fights you get. And then the winners will hopefully fight sometime in the spring.
The tinfoil hat has been on.